I came into the FASD world at the age of 26. That's when I was diagnosed. Before that, as Dr. Mukherjee said in that video, people like me without a diagnosis end up hitting the wrong side of the law, being homeless, addiction, prison. I went through all of those. 2 years in prison for robbery, 10 years of addiction, numerous suicide attempts, homelessness, the list goes on. But that's what happens if you don't get a diagnosis, if the support's not put in place at a younger age. Going back to school, it was always pinned to bad behavior, dyslexic, ADHD, ADD, everything but FASD. So, you know, I never got the right support. I failed in school. I had detentions all the time. Most of the days I didn't want to go in. I didn't like school. I failed my GCSEs and I came out and I didn't work and it just went downhill. As soon as I found alcohol, it was like the addiction had been waiting for me since I was born. So I picked up a drink and within 6 months I was addicted and already trying to kill myself. Okay, so my mum adopted me when I was 6. I was in foster care for 3 years. The basic neglect, parents couldn't look after us, addicted parents, drugs and alcohol. But I ended up having to go back to move with my mum when I was 26. And she got me sober. She locked me in the house for 2 weeks so I couldn't get out and get another drink. But once I'd got sober, she realized that the problems I had as a child, I still had as an adult. I couldn't follow instructions. I wouldn't listen. All the basics that you hear all the time. The worst answer I ever gave her, which she heard over and over again, which a lot of you have probably heard, is I don't know. You ask a child with FASD a question, you're going to get, I don't know. That's probably because that's the most honest answer you're going to get as well. Because they don't know. I didn't know. Why I can't do what she's asking me to do. I don't know. Now I do. Now I know that she's given me 5 instructions. Go upstairs into the bathroom on the windowsill and get the bar soap, for example. By the time I've got to the top of the stairs, I've forgotten what room she's told me to go in. So I'm going back downstairs and she's shouting at me saying, I've just told you, why aren't you listening? I don't know. But I wanted to do an example today and I don't know how it's going to go. But in the classroom, so one of my, it was actually a godparent, actually became a supply teacher for my year. And because she was friends with my mum got a bit more info than she probably should have done about me learning. So the supply teacher went back to my mum. It was actually my sister's godparent. And she said, we sat in the classroom and we all gave them the same bit of work. And they had, I think it was probably about half an hour. My mum never lets me forget these things, see. And she said she left us all for half an hour to do this bit of work. By the time it had come to finish, she went around the classroom. Everyone had done it. I'd written the date at the top of the page. And that's all I'd done. Why have you only done that much work, Lee? I don't know. But so I wanted to try and give an example today as to why it's so hard for children to focus in the classroom. But first of all, I need a volunteer. There we go. Okay, come and take the hot seat. Now, what I'm going to do is, as I said, this is a trial, but this is Life in the UK test, a practice book. So, hi, what's your name? Caroline. Lee. And you. This is very scary. Right, I'm going to ask Caroline to do, just answer these questions. But I'm going to be her brain, FASD brain. Because when you're sat in the classroom and you're trying to do work and it's silence and your brain is telling you to look everywhere else and focus on every other sound, sorry, that's what I'm going to do. So I want you to follow my instructions but try and do this at the same time, okay?
And that booklet is a UK citizenship exam that every UK citizen is supposed to
First question, what important event in the development of women's rights happened in 1928? Yeah, exactly. There you go. Good luck. Okay, so, I have FASD, so if I go quiet for a minute, it's because my brain's frozen. So you crack on with that, and I want you to follow everything I say. And look out the window. How many cars can you see? What colour are they? The light's flickering over there. Can you see it? No? You gotta look a bit longer. It's still flickering. Honestly, how many lights are there? That lady down there just moved her hand. How many people are wearing yellow shirts? Can you hear that fan? It's really noisy, isn't it? It's like, really noisy! Teacher's walking over. Teacher's coming. Teacher's coming. Okay, put your head down, do some work. Make it look like you're doing some work. He's going to come. He's walked past, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. The man over there's just crossed his arms. No, wrong man. Everyone's looking at you. Is everyone else doing their work? No, someone over there is picking his nose. Yeah. And they're whispering, right at the back, they're whispering. What are they whispering about? Can you hear it? They said something, they said your name. No. Okay, we'll leave it there. But, for example, that is what it's like, sat in the classroom, and your brain's telling you, and you're trying to do work. How did you do? Terrible. Yeah. So if you're sat there for half an hour and you've got to do work and answering questions, and it's complete silence, and everything's going on, that's what it's like. So when you're in a class with neurotypical children, and then you've got the one that's brain doesn't want to do what everyone else is supposed to be doing, you're not going to get any work done. I've lived with this for now 32 years. Since I got diagnosed, I started to figure out what my issues were, and then what I can do to, make them not be so bad and not affect me so much. So now I live on my own. I'm a full-time single dad. I've got 4 kids. That wasn't part of the plan, but I see them, and one of them now lives with me. And we have a cat. The cat's famous. The cat's more famous than me. But he's an assistance cat as well. He helps me when my mood drops, because my daughter's only just recently come to live with me. When my mood drops, I can shut myself in the house for days and nobody can see me. But the cat, he's a character. But he helps me keep a steady mood, and he knows when I'm down. And he's got his own little story. He went missing for 4 months, and then made a royal appearance back into my life again. And I couldn't have been happier. But so there is stuff, even now, that I struggle with. Memory, that's probably one of my biggest, is memory. And then my mum always said, make sure you write it down. So I started writing it down. And then when you put it somewhere, you read it, but your brain doesn't register that you've actually got to remember it or do what you've written down. So you just look at it and carry on going. That's why eventually she's like, write it down. So I stopped writing it down. But now I've got a phone. It's over there. But I can put reminders on my phone, so that now that's it. All my calendars are synced up. And and now I'm going to train my daughter to become my external brain as well. It's great. My mum, she's got dementia, but she's the reason I'm still here today. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for her. I'd either be back in prison again or in a box. I wouldn't be sober if it wasn't for her. And she knows that. And, was it just a couple of years ago, she saw me speak at the EU FASD conference. And I think that moment she realized that she was finally proud of me. But, there is nothing we can't do if we put our minds to it. Because I don't have close friends. I actually live a very solitude life at home. But because I'm out doing this, I'm always out seeing someone, having a meeting. But then I get home, and by the time I get home at the end of the day, all I want to do is shut the door and forget the world and sleep, or Xbox. Usually sleep. But, you know, friends, they don't last. They kind of, they're great for a while. Even same as relationships. I've given up looking for friends. It sounds sad, but for me, life's easier that way. Because you don't have people that want to rely on you. And you don't feel pressured into doing stuff. And I know that sounds bad, but I'm happier that way. I'm happier, you know, doing my thing, going out, doing work, doing volunteering, being there for my daughter. You know, she lightens up my day. I don't have a bad day when she's around, because she do something funny, or if I hurt myself, she laugh at me anyway. So, and I laugh at her laughing at me. She's only 3, and I call her my super girl, because she was born about a year after I got diagnosed. And, you know, she was the reason that, you know, I wanted to sort myself out. I didn't want to drink again. I wanted to actually do something and help other people. And I'm a superhero fan. So from that moment, you know, she became my supergirl. But, you know, she cheers me up. She's another reason that I get up in the mornings. And now I'm full-time dad, so, you know, there's more of a routine that I've got to stick to for her sake, not just for mine. Living on your own with FASD is not always easy. You know, I can do it, but some days it's a struggle getting out of bed and just living. So, but you know, now I have to for her, get her up, get her to nursery. We were late this morning, but that was my fault. So, but I also suffer with insomnia, so I don't sleep. Not always. Sometimes I'm awake till 6 in the morning. Then by then I feel so ill that, you know, I'm affected for the rest of the day because I'm sleep deprived. So quite often it's a vicious circle. But, you know, you wouldn't think it to look at me, would you? You know, you just see this, oh, he's handsome. But actually, you know, I'm on constant painkillers every day for back pain, leg pain, ankle pain, but that's power kiting. That was my own fault, self-inflicted. Probably shouldn't have done it. But, you know, to the outside world, I look fine. And there's a lot of children that get misdiagnosed just because they look fine. And that's what we're all here today for, is for those individuals that aren't getting the support that they should be.